I call to order the high-level interactive dialogue on culture and sustainable development. I would like to warmly welcome all of you to this meeting. This meeting is held in accordance with Resolution 78/161 of 19 December 2023. Under the theme, Culture and Sustainable Development, this meeting will provide an opportunity to member states, observers, and relevant stakeholders to give due consideration to the contribution of culture to the achievement of sustainable development through national, regional, and international development policies and international cooperation instruments. More specifically, this interactive dialogue will allow participants to exchange perspectives on promoting the intersection of culture and digital transformation in the interest of sustainable development. By identifying key challenges and unresolved issues, the discussion will help refine policy considerations and areas for international cooperation. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, today we gather to celebrate the transformative power of culture in driving sustainable development. While sometimes viewed as a backdrop of progress, cultural heritage is in fact an engine that propels us forward. And it is essential to our efforts to sustain peace, bolster security, and ensure the social cohesion in our societies. We see this across the full spectrum of cultural expressions. In textiles, for instance, we see support to economic growth and the empowerment of young people, women, and girls. In food, we see far-flung cuisines in restaurants close to home, boosting economic growth and engendering solidarity and unity. And in art and design, we see how innovative technologies are helping draw inspiration from the varied cultures across the globe. Of course, culture itself continuously evolves, and in today's digital era, cultures are being shaped and transformed by our interactions with technology. This can be seen in every aspect of our lives, but perhaps most prominently across social media and the internet at large. Nowadays, access to the full wealth of cultures is only one click away. Indeed, technology has enabled this dissemination of cultural elements, whether they be arts, recipes, or music. But while culture inevitably helps drive sustainable development, the question must be asked, are we using its potential fully? We must do much more to integrate culture into sustainable development. Member states recognized this point in September 2024. In adopting the Pact for the Future, they reaffirmed the need to promote culture as an integral component of sustainable development. And they recognized culture's vital role in, 1, shaping identity, 2, fostering social cohesion, and 3, inspiring innovation, all essential enablers of sustainable development. I encourage all member states to continue to strive for new and innovative ways to integrate culture and sustainable development. But we must do so while ensuring inclusivity, protecting intellectual property, and advancing cultural rights and accessibility. This requires that we engage all stakeholders. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, our world is replete with an abundance of cultural assets, but as with our natural resources, we must learn to use them towards sustainability. Together, let us employ the power of cultural diversity for sustainable development as a vehicle for innovation and shared prosperity. Let us create a world that connects cultures both online and offline, one that protects cultural heritage and diversity, and where sustainable development is achievable for all. I thank you. I invite members to view a pre-recorded statement by Mr. Ernesto Ottoni, the Assistant Director General for Culture of the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization.
President of the General Assembly, distinguished delegates, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Today, as we reflect on the deep interconnection between culture and sustainable development, we must recognize a pressing imperative. The digital transformation reshaping our societies demands a new common global vision for culture, one that is inclusive, ethical, and rooted in the diversity of cultural expressions. As reaffirmed in the Mondiacult 2022 declaration, culture is a global public good, as essential to human dignity as biodiversity is to nature. Culture shapes how communities express their values, live together, and interpret the world through their beliefs, tradition, knowledge systems, and creative expressions. In doing so, it becomes a powerful driver of identity, resilience, innovation, and cohesion. Yet today, this richness is under growing pressure. The digital transformation, particularly artificial intelligence, is both a transformative opportunity, but also a complex challenge. AI is revolutionizing how culture is created, accessed, and valued. It holds immense potential to broaden access, preserve endangered heritage, and fuel new creativity. But without ethical safeguards, it can also exacerbate exclusion, erode diversity, and deepen inequalities. Too often, culture content flows from the few to the many, marginalizing local voices and reinforcing economic and technological asymmetries. At this crossroads of culture and technology, the World Conference on Culture Policy and Sustainable Development, Mondiacult 2025, will include two critical interrelated themes. Culture and peace, highlighting how cultural policies can foster dialogue, reconciliation, and social resilience, especially in post-crisis contexts, and also artificial intelligence and culture, exploring how to harness AI's potential while safeguarding cultural rights, artistic freedom, and cultural sovereignty. In response, UNESCO calls for a renewed global framework for culture in the digital era, one that rests on three independent pillars. The first pillar is on equity and access. Digital transformation must be inclusive. Today, many artists and cultural professionals, especially women, youth, indigenous peoples, and creators in the global south, still face systemic barriers. We must expand access to infrastructure, funding, and digital skills, and ensure fair conditions for those working in culture. UNESCO supports these efforts through tools like the AI Readiness Assessment and its expanding network for digital capacity development. The second pillar refers to ethics and governance. The UNESCO recommendation on the ethics of artificial intelligence, unanimously adopted in 2021 by all 193 member states, provide a global framework to align AI with human rights, fairness, and cultural diversity. It emphasizes human oversight, transparency, and the protection of cultural expression. Creativity emerged from imagination, memory, and identity, uniquely human dimension that AI can support, yet never replicate. Effective governance must uphold the autonomy of artists, safeguard intellectual property, and ensure cultural sovereignty in digital spaces, where algorithms must amplify diverse voices rather than narrow them. Finally, the third pillar concerned diversity and innovation. A digitally connected world must reflect the vast richness of global cultures. This entails improving the discoverability of local content, safeguarding linguistic diversity, and ensuring that digital platforms provide transparency regarding cultural issues, notably artistic freedom. As highlighted by the UNESCO Reflection Group on the diversity of cultural expression in the digital environment, these measures are crucial for promoting the diversity of cultural expression in the digital age. Innovation should support cultural pluralism, ensuring that all communities can contribute to and benefit from digital creativity. To achieve this, strong international cooperation is essential. The UN report on governing AI for humanity makes it clear: without global coordination, the benefits of AI will remain unequal and the risk will grow. UNESCO is working closely with member states, sister UN agencies, and civil society to ensure that cultural policy and digital governance evolve hand in hand. Culture must be part of this architecture, from data to compute, from standards to safeguards. Looking ahead to Mondiacult 25, we have a decisive opportunity to reaffirm culture's role in building peace and guiding digital futures. Let us use this moment to ensure that the digital world becomes a space where every culture can be seen, heard, and valued. Let us work together to create inclusive, right-based governance that empowers artists and protects our shared cultural heritage. Excellencies, connecting cultures in the digital era requires more than technology. It is about building shared understanding, ensuring dignity, and expanding humanity's capacity to imagine together. Culture is how we remember who we are and how we shape who we can become. Let us make sure it has the place it deserves in our digital future. Thank you.
I thank the Assistant Director General for Culture of the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. I give the floor to Ms. Ilse Brands-Keris, Assistant Secretary General for Human Rights.
President of the General Assembly, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, colleagues, friends, it's a pleasure to address you today as we come together to explore the vital intersection between culture and digital transformation, particularly in the context of sustainable development. Culture is far more than art, music, or heritage. It is core to our identity and to our experience. It encompasses the values we uphold, the knowledge we transmit across generations, and the ways in which we express who we are. Culture shapes how we interact with the environment, govern our societies, and respond to the challenges of our time. As our world becomes increasingly formed by the advancement and spread of digital technologies, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment, one in which the promotion of cultural diversity and human rights in digital spaces is both a challenge and an opportunity. The digital space holds immense potential. It offers new platforms for expression, unprecedented access to knowledge, and the ability to connect across cultures and borders. It has revolutionized the way we share our stories, languages, and traditions. However, it has also introduced new forms of exclusion, control, and inequality. Too often, digital platforms are dominated by a limited number of languages, perspectives, and cultural narratives. Many voices, especially those of indigenous peoples, minority communities, and speakers of less widely spoken languages, remain underrepresented or even entirely invisible online. This digital marginalization threatens their cultural rights. We must ensure that every individual has the right to participate in the cultural life of their own community and of the society at large, to express their identity, to access cultural heritage, and to contribute to cultural creation, online as well as offline. Steps are already being taken to support cultural diversity online. The 2005 UNESCO Convention on the Protection and Promotion of the Diversity of Cultural Expressions encourages states to ensure that the digital environment supports a diversity of cultural voices. And UNESCO recommendation on the ethics of artificial intelligence, already mentioned today, adopted in 2021, calls for the preservation of cultural diversity in algorithmic systems. We must translate these commitments into concrete action by investing in digital infrastructure that serves all communities, supporting local content creators, regulating platforms to protect freedom of expression and prevent hate speech, and designing inclusive technologies that reflect the richness of human experience, the multiplicity of voices and cultural diversity while safeguarding human rights. Excellencies, culture and cultural rights are indispensable to sustainable development, peace, and stability. When we systematically integrate cultural rights in development, by respecting the diverse perspectives and values of the people and communities it impacts, safeguarding their resources, and preserving their heritage, this will not only make development more sustainable, but also help build stronger, more dynamic, and resilient societies. Culture acts as a driver of progress by fostering knowledge, promoting enduring values, enhancing communication, and supporting environmental sustainability and economic growth. Embracing cultural diversity and upholding cultural rights is fundamental to sustainable development, as it ensures a broad range of opportunities and culturally appropriate solutions for all people. Despite its profound impact, the transformative potential of culture remains insufficiently embedded in global development frameworks. Recognizing this gap, member states have explicitly called for the integration of culture into economic, social, and environmental development policies in the Pact for the Future. They also emphasize the need for adequate public investment in the protection and promotion of culture. The Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights is enhancing its work on economic, social, and cultural rights, including by supporting states in integrating cultural rights into their laws and policies. This includes, for instance, recent capacity development workshops in Pohnpei, Micronesia, on preserving cultural heritage and traditional practices. In March 2025, the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights held online consultations with African civil society groups on advancing cultural rights, including engaging with UN human rights mechanisms. OHCHR is also working closely with UNESCO and other UN partners to strengthen culture and human rights under the Interagency Platform on Culture for Sustainable Development. The upcoming UNESCO World Conference on Cultural Policies and Sustainable Development, Mondiacult 2025 in Barcelona this September, along with the Second World Summit for Social Development in Doha in November, will serve as key opportunities to collectively advance the integration of cultural rights into development strategies. This includes fostering localization, promoting ownership, and reinforcing culture's essential role in advancing social, economic, and environmental progress, and importantly, the centrality of cultural rights in the post-2030 agenda. We look forward to strengthening our efforts in this area by leveraging the power of culture and cultural rights to advance sustainable development and to working with you to promote and protect culture and all human rights in the digital era. Thank you.
I thank the Assistant Secretary General for Human Rights. I now invite His Excellency Jordi Martí Grau, the State Secretary for Culture of Spain and host of the 2025 World Conference on Cultural Policies and Sustainable Development, to deliver a statement.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, President of the General Assembly, Excellencies, and all representatives of Member States. It is an honor to be at the opening of this meeting. I wish to begin by thanking the Assembly for the possibility to be here in New York representing the Spanish Ministry for Culture. Primarily, my role here today is to invite you to actively participate in the upcoming Mondiacult for 2025. As you will now recall, we will hold this summit in Barcelona on the 29th and 30th of September and the 1st of October. As you are well aware, this is the key meeting where public cultural policy is concerned. There, we sketch out frameworks for cultural policy. We agree upon frameworks and strategies for cooperation between member states within the field of culture. I wish to thank Ernesto Ottone and UNESCO's entire team for the Herculean efforts being put into this summit. It's the first time it will be held outside Mexico, outside of Latin America. Indeed, we've held 2 in Mexico. We're grateful that it can be now held in Spain, and we thank them for their efforts. We are aware that we are going to hold Mondiacult in a world beset by manifold crises. I will cite a US philosopher here, because we're here in New York. He says that we are living in an increasingly inconceivable world. This world is not only afflicted by specific one-off crises, but rather by issues which are challenging our ability to even give meaning to our societies, our people, the way that we understand ourselves, and troubling the ways that we establish relationships with other people. If something can turn into a toolbox so that the world can once again become conceivable, envisageable, the future more specifically, that thing is culture, and that's where Mondiacult comes in. As I see it, Mondiacult has as its key goal making us able to envisage a future which is able to address and solve the major challenges facing the world today. Solving those challenges will see culture play a crucial role, because when crises are global and systemic and connected to the way in which subjects relate to the world, that is when we need to think of culture and how it can help. It's for that reason that Mondiacult will deal with a lot of issues. It will build on the agenda that was first established in Mexico. However, we will focus on 3 main areas. That's where our primary focus will be. The first is cultural rights. Cultural rights are here understood as the framework in which citizens do not only have access, or the idea that not only should their access be guaranteed to culture, that's the right that we most widely recognize, but what we're also talking about is the rights of expression, the right to create, and more specifically, the right to actively participate in cultural life. Citizens, each and every citizen and citizens as a whole can not only be receivers of culture, inevitably, crucially, in a complex world such as ours, we need to work to ensure that they can produce culture, each of them on an equal footing. At the national level here, there's a lot of bias. For example, of course, in the digital arena, there's a lot of bias. That goes without saying. But beyond that, there's that bias. Cultural rights mean that we need to ensure that cultural policies serve citizens. That's the best contribution that culture can make to sustainable development. Because cultural rights, making them more widely exercised, involves making citizens able to establish different relationships with their habitat, with their milieu. That's vital if we are to achieve sustainable development, which is far-reaching and genuine in nature. Our second area of focus is very closely related to what you'll deal with here today, and that is the emergence of new technologies, and particularly the eruption onto our cultural scenes of AI. I'd like to indicate that what one specialist in this field said. She maintains that AI is not actually artificial or intelligent. The only thing that the artificial intelligence as a name tells us is that technology is an instrument. It can only be an instrument to foster different cultural and social expressions. It cannot be an end in itself. It's a mere instrument. Then we need to think about the ethics of AI. We need to strengthen the tenets that UNESCO has been adopting, in my sphere in particular, the European Union have been adopting these tenets to govern AI. That's vital. In the cultural arena, intellectual property rights, copyright, they're particularly crucial things, and there AI can be a wealth of opportunity in terms of those cultural production, but there needs to be regulation. Mondiacult can serve to build this framework so that AI can be governed and be an instrument that serves and fosters sustainable development. Now, our third area of work in Mondiacult will be to devote specific attention to the culture of peace. We live in a world of conflict. There are cultural roots to conflict plaguing today's world, and indeed to wars. And we need to envisage a culture which allows real dialogue, taking into account the cultural richness of our planet. Will hold seminars, round tables, debates, interministerial dialogues about how to build peace. But Spain would like to see the very convening of Mondiacult to act as a sort of loudspeaker, to allow voices to ring out and speak in unison so that we can coordinate to bring about peace in the world. That's crucial. And as cultural leaders and policymakers, that's what we can do so that culture can return to our people. We will hold a major concert in the Palau de la Música. That's an arena recognized as heritage of humankind. It's recognized by UNESCO. It's a magical fora. Musicians, participants will hail from all countries that are currently in conflict. Perhaps the best way of demonstrating that music, art, culture can be a space for us all minds to meet. That's the best way of demonstrating that, rather than having culture be a source of conflict. In Mondiacult in Mexico, talked about this, and this is what we'll do. We need to speak out to ensure that in the agenda post-2030 there be a goal conversation about how we really focus on culture. Culture is currently absent from Agenda 2030, and international associations working in culture have called for us to plug that gap. Culture needs to be placed at the heart of sustainable development in the future beyond Agenda 2030. And for that reason, we hope that Mondiacult will see us adopt a clear, unambiguous declaration in favor of having a key goal around culture in the agenda post-2030. If we're not able to conceive of making a better world thinkable or existable, it's impossible for us to begin to work towards that goal. Thank you to you all.
I thank the State Secretary for Culture of Spain. We have heard the last speaker for the opening segment. I would like to express my appreciation to our distinguished speakers for their contributions. As indicated in my letters dated 8 April and 16 May 2025, this dialogue will consist of an opening segment a plenary segment, and a panel discussion. The meeting is open to member states and observers, the United Nations system, and ECOSOC, accredited non-governmental organizations, and is being broadcast live on UN Web TV. The interactive panel discussion will be held this afternoon in this chamber. I will briefly pause the meeting to allow for a podium change. The opening segment is now concluded.
Excellencies, dear colleagues, we will now begin the plenary segment. Before we open the floor, we would like to inform delegations that there is no pre-established list of speakers, and delegations are invited to press the microphone button to request the floor. In order to allow maximum participation by all in the limited time available, the time limited will be 3 minutes for national statements and 5 minutes for statements made on behalf of a group of states. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Cyprus.
Thank you, Mr. President, Excellencies. Allow me to begin by expressing the appreciation of my delegation to you, Mr. President, for convening this important dialogue today, and to say that it is an honor and a privilege to be participating in today's discussions. My presence is indicative of the importance the Republic of Cyprus attaches to the issue at hand. Also, I would like to thank and recognize the contributions to our discussions today by the members of the panel. Cyprus, Mr. President, aligns with the statement of the Group of Friends of Culture, and I would like to offer some additional remarks in my national capacity. Culture is not only the thread that connects us with our history and identity, it is also a powerful force for social cohesion and economic growth, contributing to more effective, inclusive, equitable, and sustainable development. Furthermore, cultural and creative industries can be a source of economic growth, can foster innovation, create jobs, and strengthen resilience. As recognized also in the Pact for the Future, culture as an enabler of sustainable development offers individuals and communities a strong sense of identity and fosters social cohesion. It is important to recall, I believe, that we have collectively committed to integrating culture into economic, social, and environmental development policies and strategies. Undoubtedly, the promotion of culture, cultural diversity, and the protection of cultural rights are essential not only for individuals, but have a fundamental role in fostering peace and stability, giving also a new impetus to sustainable development. Mr. President, culture in all its dimensions is deeply and indelibly rooted in the very existence of all Cypriots. This is why culture and cultural rights are amongst Cyprus's top priorities, both nationally and internationally, including at the United Nations. In this regard, it should not come as a surprise that Cyprus is one of the initiators and co-chairs of the UN Group of Friends of Culture. Culture in the digital age is a powerful instrument for inclusion, creativity, and sustainability, and Cyprus is committed to connecting cultures in the digital age. Allow me merely to highlight two examples. In 2013, the Digital Heritage Research Lab was established at the Department of Electrical Engineering, Computer Engineering and Informatics at the Cyprus University of Technology. The lab is devoted to research on the digitization, documentation, archiving, preservation, protection, and promotion of the tangible and intangible cultural heritage. And it is worth noting that the lab is hosting the unique UNESCO Chair on Digital Cultural Heritage. Another example is Figardo, a remote rural village and UNESCO-protected site in Cyprus. Figardo launched its very own online platform to preserve and share its rich cultural heritage globally, showcasing historic architecture, daily life, and intangible heritage. And I believe it is a good practice on how local communities can thrive in the digital age and boost sustainable tourism. Mr. President, dear colleagues, our biggest commitment reflected in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development is to leave no one behind. This promise must extend to all aspects of our society, including cultural and creative sectors, who are often omitted in our efforts. Now is the time to place culture closer to the heart of multilateralism, including in intergovernmental processes, such as the upcoming Fourth Financing for Development Conference and the Second World Summit for Social Development, but also in our commitments for the post-2030 agenda. I thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Cyprus, and now I would like to give the floor to the distinguished representative of Saudi Arabia.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, we would like to thank you for organizing this important meeting. I should first of all like to say that culture and technology are important when it comes to innovation. That is indeed a driver of economic diversity through the launching of projects for developed technologies that allow artists and innovators to reach new sectors and new markets, in addition to new good quality opportunities. That is an important pillar of sustainable development and a way of ensuring greater innovation and the protection of national identity and culture, as well as opening up new horizons to attract new investment and to foster local talent and ensure sustainable development, in addition to innovation and the exchange of knowledge. Mr. President, Saudi Arabia has undergone a great deal of change when it comes to digital technologies and culture. This technology is now a way to preserve cultural heritage and cultural exchanges, and it's also a way to promote artistic life and to improve quality of life. We have focused on access to cultural life through digital platforms that allow artists to show their work internationally, or also to use artificial intelligence, which is able to provide guides to museums and historic sites. And in this digital age, culture is also being changed through non-traditional means and through technologies. Today, in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, we are seeing a redefinition, if you will, of culture to promote innovation and to preserve national identity through the use of non-traditional means, such as digital platforms and artificial intelligence. These offer new measures, new ways and means, and new opportunities to promote these exchanges. Smart museums to preserve and show off historic and cultural sites, for example. There are many ways in which we can see that technology is a way to improve this exchange between and among generations and to show the rich heritage of our kingdom. Artistic output plays an important role in culture, and it is a driver for those industries, and our young people are a driving force as part of that change. They're not just consumers, they are also demonstrating their heritage and their ambitions and are working using applications and technological means to show off Saudi culture in a way that is highlighting innovation. But there are many challenges ahead which require planning in order to preserve our cultural specificity in the technological age, and so that we can ensure equality among these different areas in the digital age. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Saudi Arabia and now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Portugal.
Excellencies, Portugal aligns itself with the statement delivered on behalf of the Group of Friends of Culture, or that will be delivered on behalf of the Group of Friends of Culture, and we would like to add the following remarks in national capacity. Culture is an important enabler of sustainable development, as recognized in the Pact for the Future. Digital transformation can contribute to the preservation and promotion of cultural traditions, ensuring that humanity's cultural wealth is shared in a way that is accessible, inclusive, and innovative. We believe that the promotion of linguistic and cultural diversity in digital technologies, including artificial intelligence, is crucial for fostering greater participation in the digital realm, as underlined in the Global Digital Compact. At national level, Portugal has been implementing initiatives that include the technological modernization of museums, archives and libraries, the digitalization of images and documents, the creation of virtual tours, as well as the valorization of authors and availability of Portuguese books in digital format. At international level, together with Angola, Brazil, and Cabo Verde, we submitted a joint project to the Committee on Development and Intellectual Property of the World Intellectual Property Organization, dedicated to empowering young Lusophone musicians in the area of music streaming, launched in April this year. In addition, Portugal developed many cooperation projects aimed at digital equity for cultural empowerment, investing in community-led creative industries and inclusive education that blends culture, technology, and entrepreneurship. However, challenges remain. Chief among them are connectivity and training needs. Indeed, despite improvements, 1/3 of the global population still lacks access to meaningful connectivity and many others to fundamental digital skills. This is why Portugal launched the UN Portugal Digital Fellowship, a capacity-building program focused on digital transformation and innovation, whose second edition will take place in the Portuguese city of Guimarães next week. I thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Portugal for his statement, and now would like to give the floor to the distinguished representative of Italy.
Thank you, Mr. President. Italy would like to align itself with the statement to be delivered by the Group of Friends of Culture and add some additional remarks in its national capacity. Italy is proud to be, together with Cyprus, the initiator of the Group of Friends of Culture, recognizing culture's role as a pivotal enabler of sustainable development, as also recognized in numerous General Assembly resolutions and reiterated in the Pact of the Future. With 60 inscriptions, Italy is a home of the largest number of UNESCO World Heritage Sites. This record shows how culture is a fundamental pillar of our identity, playing a key role both in our national and in our foreign policy. In order to share with our partners this privileged position with the concrete commitments, Italy is focusing on three main areas. The first one is the allocation of adequate investment to the cultural and creative industries, also through a multi-stakeholder approach. A specific advocacy action to this aim has been promoted by Italy and other members of the Group of Friends of Culture during preparatory negotiation for the 4th FFD conference here in New York. Another concrete example of our action comes from Italy's commitment to foster and support the protection of cultural heritage of African countries. Through its Africa Plan, Italy focuses on strengthening partnership with African nations to enhance the capacity of local professionals, By sharing expertise, especially in heritage preservation, we stand ready to offer training and capacity building to African countries to ensure their heritage is better represented in a UNESCO list. This is not just about preserving the past, but also about empowering local communities to take ownership of their cultural heritage as a pillar for social and economic development. Finally, Italy is focusing on the relations between emerging technologies and culture, the precise focus of the important dialogue today. Culture plays an important role in developing human-centered artificial intelligence and contributing to the ethical, safe, and trustworthy development on the use of AI that respects human rights, creative content, and cultural diversity while helping to reduce the digital divide. This is why Italy makes a strong call for the incorporation of cultural considerations into the discussion on AI governance. In this way, we can strengthen the cooperation among states and all stakeholders to address the ethical, legal, economic, and social implications of generative AI and AI-powered tools for the cultural and creative industries. In concluding, the promise to leave no one behind must extend to all aspects of our society, including culture and creative sectors, who are often omitted in our efforts. Culture, as a key element of social cohesion, can be a source of economic growth. It can foster innovation, create countless jobs, and strengthen resilience. Let's pool our efforts and resources to place culture at the heart of sustainable development. I thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Italy for his statement. Now I would like to give the floor to the distinguished representative of Mexico on behalf of the group of Friends of Culture. I'm sorry, I would like to give the floor to Rwanda first, and then Mexico will get the floor in a second. So I would like to give the floor to the distinguished representative of Rwanda.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, we join to thank you for convening us on this important dialogue, and we also join to thank the briefers who briefed us this morning. Mr. President, in Rwanda, we believe that culture is not a luxury, it is a necessity. It shapes identity, fosters innovation, and drives inclusive, sustainable development. In Rwanda, cultural renewal has been a cornerstone for our own national transformation. Today, the digital era offers unprecedented opportunities to preserve and promote culture. In Africa, creative industries from music to fashion are reaching global audiences powered by mobile technologies and youthful talent. In Rwanda, innovation hubs are linked to by local creators to the entire world. But to realize this, we believe the following three priorities must guide us. First, digital inclusion must be treated as a cultural right. Without connectivity, infrastructure, and digital literacy, too many are left behind, especially women, the youth, and our local communities. And second, we must create and increase public investment in culture and innovation. Culture is not a cost, we believe, it is a catalyst. It's a multiplier development outcomes across the education, jobs, and social cohesion. Third, we must protect cultural identity in the digital age. The same tools that amplify voices can also erase them. We must preserve indigenous languages, traditional knowledge, and local content, ensuring that digitization enhances, not erases, cultural identity. From today's conversation, we believe we can have three takeaways. That one, culture must be at the heart of development policies, including the Pact of the Future, as has been mentioned. And two, that digital tools, when inclusive, are powerful enablers for creativity, empowerment, and understanding. And the third, international cooperation is essential to share knowledge, bridge the gaps, and ensure culture is not left offline. In preserving our cultures, we protect our humanity. In connecting them, we shape our common future. I thank you very much, Mr. President.
I thank the distinguished representative of Rwanda for his statement. And then I would like to give the floor to the distinguished representative of the Russian Federation.
Mr. Chairman, we would like to echo our colleagues in thanking you for convening today's event, and we'd also like to thank the opening speakers. The Russian Federation, of course, recognizes the important role of culture in achieving sustainable development. That, among other things, was reflected in our country's strategy for state cultural policy up to the year 2030. We have traditionally underscored the role of culture and creative industries in accelerating economic growth and in the reduction of poverty and inequalities. At the same time, let us not overlook the potential of culture when it comes to responding to contemporary environmental challenges. Climate change is a challenge not just for ecosystems, but also for cultural heritage. To effectively combat climate change, joint efforts at the global level are needed. Culture, as a mirror of human experience, reflects and shapes our relationship with nature. Cultural institutions can be important players in work done to advance a culture of environmentalism and sustainable practices. Russia's cultural institutions, its museums, libraries, and theaters are already taking on the role of promoting the protection of nature. They're not just conserving artifacts of the past, they are also becoming a place to talk about the future. The creation of an international network of museums devoted to environmental issues could be an important step in the work of popularizing an awareness of nature. It must be acknowledged that the full realization of the potential of culture in sustainable development is today being complicated by the use of illegal unilateral approaches in international relations, such as sanctions, boycotts, bans, and cancel culture on racial, ethnic, or linguistic grounds. In that regard, it's important to ensure equal opportunities for everyone to participate in cultural life and to combat discrimination, racism, and prejudice. A cultural policy based on the principles of inclusion is a powerful tool for ensuring sustainable development. The introduction of digital technologies in education programs opens up new possibilities for teaching and learning, creating the conditions for all groups of citizens to participate in cultural life, be it people with disabilities, young people, or people living in remote areas. All of this helps to build a society in which everyone has an opportunity to make the most of their potential. Only a cultural policy that is based on the principles of inclusion can be that powerful tool for ensuring sustainable development. Thank you for your attention.
I thank the distinguished representative of the Russian Federation for his statement. Now I would like to give the floor to the distinguished representative of Poland.
Mr. President, Poland aligns itself with the statement of the Group of Friends of Culture to be delivered, and let me introduce some remarks in my national capacity. We acknowledge the pivotal contribution of culture to all three pillars of the United Nations: human rights, peace, and development. We also consider culture as highly relevant for implementing each of the 17 SDGs in areas as diverse as education, economic growth, livable cities, environmental action, as well as peaceful and inclusive societies. Pact for the Future calls on all countries to integrate culture into economic, social, and environmental policies, to promote intercultural dialogue, and to help facilitate international cooperation on the return and restitution of cultural property. For Poland, as a member of the Group of Friends of Culture, whose role it is to elevate these issues in UN processes in New York, it is increasingly important to ensure that culture is recognized in UN normative documents. In the context of today's discussion on the nexus between culture and sustainable development, including digitalization, a unique value of UNESCO's mandate within the multilateral system should be highlighted. Poland welcomes UNESCO's efforts to translate the outcomes of the World Conference on Cultural Policies and Sustainable Development, Mondiacult 2022 Declaration, into concrete actions including the preparatory work for the next World Conference in Barcelona in 2025. In our view, during the conference, we should reflect on how to advance the positioning of culture within the post-2030 UN development framework. In the digital era, the culture sector not only undergoes transformation itself, but also becomes an active agent and promoter of technological change. Today, connecting cultures isn't just about geography anymore. It's increasingly happening in the digital world, at our fingertips. In our view, there is a need and space for stronger public-private partnerships and international cooperation, such as within the European Union or UNESCO, to fully harness the role of culture in advancing progress globally. I thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Poland, and I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Fiji.
Thank you, Chair. It's great to see you up on the podium this morning, and best wishes in your assignment. Fiji attests great importance to this event today on culture, and we thank the President of the GA for convening this meeting, as well as the briefers. Culture plays a very important role in Fiji's development, shaping its society, economy, and identity. Fiji's cultural society heritage, a blend of indigenous Fijian, Indian, and other Pacific Island cultures, contributes to its unique character. This cultural diversity is evident in our traditional practices, language, religious beliefs, sports, as well as our world-renowned tourism industry. The Pact of the Future identifies culture as a critical enabler in meeting our SDGs, therefore must be safeguarded. The role of culture in conflict resolution in the Fijian society cannot be overstated in ensuring understanding and tolerance, therefore is taught and emphasized in Fijian education curriculum. Let me turn to three main ideas on the significance of culture in shaping innovation and prosperity in the Fijian context. The Fijian culture has assisted in disaster preparedness and resilience in view of the impact of climate change on cultural heritage, using traditional knowledge and know-how to predict storms and trigger preparations. With the use of new emerging technologies such as AI, early warning systems, and social media, they help complement the level of preparedness and resilience, especially in the frequency and strength of tropical storms and natural disasters in our small island communities. Our culture also shaped our understanding of the ocean. Culture helps with both conservation and in meeting the community's food security needs. With new technologies which complements our traditional knowledge of understanding the ocean, it better informs especially the global community of the urgent need for conservation measures and the need of science to avoid exploitation of resources and to ensure the sustainability of food security now and our future generation. The upcoming UNOC 3 will be a platform to showcase the role of culture in ocean conservation from the Pacific. At the multilateral level, the WIPO Treaty on IP, on genetic resources and associated traditional knowledge, adopted in 2024 in Geneva, provides a key tool in this space, which recognizes genetic resources and traditional knowledge in this era of globalization. We also look forward to the conclusion of the other pending key WIPO treaty, which is on traditional knowledge and traditional cultural expressions. That pending treaty will ensure that creative industries, art, music, and other cultural expressions are adequately promoted, appreciated, and safeguarded globally, and that owners of such creations are given due considerations of the benefits. The UNOC 3 FFD4 World Social Summit and post-2030 SDGs must recognize the role of culture as its pillar, as informed in the Pact of the Future. Finally, Mr. Chair, Fiji is working on its national legislations to safeguard our traditional knowledge and cultural expressions, noting the significance of culture in addressing key needs in our society, which at times are overlooked in the development space. It is critical that development strengthen culture to ensure holistic growth in our societies. I thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Fiji, and now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Qatar. The floor is yours.
Let me begin by thanking you for convening this timely, high-level interactive dialogue on culture and sustainable development in the digital era. We'd like to align our statement with the statement delivered on behalf of the Group of Friends of Culture. For the state of Qatar, culture is a central pillar of human development, deeply embedded in our national development strategies. Guided by the Constitution and the directives of His Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, Emir of the State of Qatar, our Ministry of Culture plays a leading role in harnessing culture's transformative potential to achieve inclusive, sustainable development and economic diversification. In this regard, Qatar has ensured strong public investments in the cultural and creative sectors. From the Museum of Islamic Art to the Doha Film Institute, and through dynamic initiatives such as Qatar Creates, a multidisciplinary platform for cultural exchange that celebrates fashion, art, design, and digital creativity, we aim to position culture at the heart of our national progress. The legacy of the FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022 further illustrates how culture, sport, and digital innovation can come together to foster unity, challenge stereotypes, and connect people across borders. The digital era offers unprecedented opportunities to preserve, share, and reimagine culture across multiple fronts. In Qatar, we are using technology to document and revitalize our traditions while expanding access to cultural knowledge. The Qatar Digital Library, one of the largest and most comprehensive online archives devoted to Middle Eastern history and culture, exemplifies how we are making cultural resources accessible to the world, promoting intercultural dialogue, and bringing people together. Mr. President, while digitalization brings cultures closer together and opens new pathways for exchange, the reality is that many people in many countries still lack access to the infrastructure, tools, and skills needed to benefit from these opportunities. Bridging the digital divide is essential if we are to ensure that digital innovation serves all and contributes meaningfully to cultural development goals. To that end, the State of Qatar has invested in a number of international programs aimed at narrowing the digital divide. We partner with UNDP to advance digital innovation and drive sustainable development, prioritizing support for countries most in need. We also collaborate with the International Telecommunication Union and the Digital Cooperation Organization to promote digital cooperation and foster inclusive digital transformation. In all these efforts, we remain committed to integrating the cultural dimensions of sustainable development, supporting cultural exchange, mutual respect, and peaceful coexistence. As a firm believer in multilateralism, the State of Qatar continues to champion cultural diplomacy as a means to build trust, promote mutual understanding, and advance the values of peace and cooperation. Looking ahead, we hope the crucial importance of culture in the digital era will be firmly reflected in the deliberations of the Second World Summit for Social Development, which Qatar is proud to host in November 2025. Integrating culture into the social dimension of sustainable development can contribute to more effective, inclusive, and equitable outcomes for all. In conclusion, we must recognize that culture is not only a cornerstone of national identity, but also a vital catalyst for economic opportunity, social inclusion, and international cooperation, especially in our increasingly digital world. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Qatar, and I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Bahrain.
Mr. President, at the outset, please allow me to thank you for convening this high-level, important, interactive dialogue. In an increasingly intertwined world, digital technologies can help build bridges among cultures, can help preserve heritage and achieve sustainable development. Culture is a component of identity and is a pillar of social and economic development. The Kingdom of Bahrain continues to build on its historical and cultural heritage to promote the values of coexistence, dialogue, and mutual respect as part of the comprehensive dialogue process. We seek to promote innovation and creativity in culture, arts, technology, and urban planning, as well as in state institutions, civil society, and we seek to harness culture to serve economy. We try to develop culture by supporting the role of culture in promoting national identity, by implementing a national program for community culture, by supporting programs that help build society and culture, by entering into partnerships with the private sector, and by preserving an advanced cultural environment. We do so also by supporting the modern cultural industries that include digital entertainment, the culture of internet, and gaming. We also seek to develop the regulations on cultural and artistic associations. We underscore the importance of technological transformations to achieve cultural renewal and to find effective and successful solutions to drive development based on culture and knowledge. Technology can also help shape the role that culture can play in the life of individuals and communities. In this context, we underscore the importance of ensuring access to digital space while respecting cultural diversity. In conclusion, Mr. President, we reiterate that culture is a basis for sustainable development, and it contributes to building a prosperous and coherent societies. International cooperation is essential to keeping culture alive, grounded on our common history, enabled by digital tools that open up new horizons for dialogue and rapprochement among peoples. Thank you, Mr. President.
Shukran. I thank the distinguished representative of Bahrain and now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Mexico.
Distinguished delegates, on behalf of the Group of Friends of Culture, co-chaired by the permanent missions of Cyprus, Egypt, Italy, Mexico, and the United Arab Emirates, we warmly welcome today's timely and pivotal dialogue on culture and sustainable development with a focus on the digital era. The Group of Friends of Culture was established earlier this year to advocate for the central role of culture within the United Nations. Our collective aim is to reflect, protect, and nurture culture as a driver of sustainability and a foundation for inclusive, peaceful, and resilient societies. In our rapidly evolving global landscape, marked by environmental degradation, social and economic uncertainty, and accelerated digital transformation, culture remains a powerful tool. As recognized in the 2030 Agenda, all cultures are enablers of sustainable development. Data from the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization demonstrates that the cultural and creative industries contribute significantly to economic growth and poverty reduction, accounting for 3.1% of global GDP and employing 6.2% of the world's workforce, with strong participation of women and youth. The digital transformation is accelerating this impact, expanding access, creativity, and economic opportunity, especially in low-income and developing countries. Notably in Africa, promising momentum has been recorded, driven by improved digital infrastructure, innovative platforms, and the rise of creative sub-industries, fueling growth, innovation, and equitable development. To fully harness the promising potential of digital technologies in CCIS, the world across, international cooperation will be essential. The recent adoption of General Assembly Resolutions 78/161 and 78/133 affirmed the essential role of culture in sustainable development. These commitments must now be carried forward. The upcoming 4th Financing for Development Conference and 2nd World Summit for Social Development offer pivotal opportunities to promote the importance of culture in these collective agendas. As we approach these multilateral milestones, we urge all member states to ensure that culture is fully integrated into these intergovernmental processes, as well as throughout the United Nations system and relevant regional organizations they belong to, as a catalyst for achieving the SDGs, the 2030 Agenda, and sustainable development for all. I thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Mexico, and now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Algeria.
Thank you, Mr. President. At the outset, please allow me to thank the President of the General Assembly, Mr. Philemon Young, for convening this interactive dialogue on culture and sustainable development. This dialogue is an opportune moment to discuss issues pertaining to culture and culture and development in the digital area. We are proud of our cultural heritage that reflects our rich history. This diversity has long been a social wealth and a source of historic cultural radiation. Our Constitution has consecrated the cultural diversity of our identity in order to promote our cultural heritage. In this context, we attach great importance to culture as part of our government activities. We elaborated a national strategy and we allocated more than 15 billion dinars in order to develop this sector further. And this is part of our attempts to achieve Agenda 2030. We have firstly elaborated a legal framework to protect the tangible and intangible cultural heritage. This includes the modernization of cultural property and historical monuments, including many on the UNESCO heritage list. Secondly, we seek to promote the role of culture in economic and social development. We ensure that our monuments help support tourism and economic resources, and we seek to promote also environmental diversity. We also support cultural industries and those who invest in artistic and cinematic production. In addition, we supported cultural industries at the same time. Thirdly, we invest in digitalization in order to develop the value of cultural sector. We cooperate with all startups in order to support innovative projects. We established more than 50 applications in order to promote documentation, and we organize virtual tours as part of 360 museums. Fourthly, we elaborated a national plan 2025-2029 in order to classify old and ancient artistic sites. We have more than 400 such listed sites across the kingdom. Fifthly, we remain committed to regional cooperation and coordination to promote the development of the African continent. We have the largest museum in Africa, and this is a pilot project as part of the African Union's Agenda 2063. Days ago, we hosted the International High-Level Regional Workshop on preserving museums. This coincided with the Heritage Month. Our motto this year was Cultural Heritage in the Digital Era. We organized more than 1,590 cultural activities. In conclusion, we remain committed to common action. We were elected to the International Committee of UNESCO, and we were also elected to the presidency of the Technical Committee of Intellectual Property of the League of Arab States. We will continue to advocate for the protection and safeguarding of cultural heritage. Investing in culture is a sustainable investment and is a pillar for the development of communities and nations. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Algeria and now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Guyana. May I remind you of please staying to 3-minute time limits. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Guyana is deeply appreciative of the opportunity to highlight the too often undervalued role that culture plays in the sustainable economic development, especially for small developing states like our own. As has been highlighted by the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, the safeguarding and promotion of culture, while not a sustainable development goal in itself, contributes directly to several of the SDGs, including safe and sustainable cities, decent work and economic growth, and promoting gender equality, among others. For the Caribbean, the cultural economy is integral to the region's development. The unique culture of the region is the backbone of a vast creative economy, providing an important source of income for millions, both directly and indirectly. Festival tourism, music, sports, and fashion are substantial contributors to the region's GDP. Critically, these industries are also ripe for expansion. As the world is confronted by unprecedented and rapid advancements in communications technologies, it has created opportunities for expanding the reach of cultural products beyond its immediate region. The cultural and creative sectors in this new digital era has exceptional growth potential. This requires national governments to make the needed public investments to preserve, protect, and promote their cultural products, and further, to develop a creative economy that is prepared to exploit international investments while protecting local ownership. Beyond its role as a generator of economic activity, The unique cultural capital possessed by each state has the potential to serve as an avenue for intercultural dialogue, thereby strengthening social cohesion and sustaining peace and security. National and regional acknowledgement and respect for cultural diversity prevents conflicts and protects the rights of minority communities, further enhancing the stability that is integral to accelerating sustainable development. To conclude, Mr. President, Guyana reiterates our firm commitment to ensuring the preservation of our unique culture and to further enhancing the significant role it has and continues to play in our economic development. We encourage increased international focus on the cultural economy and urge further investments that can bridge the digital divide, build capacity, and propel the creative economy to new heights. I thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Guyana, and I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Cuba.
Excellencias.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates. Cuba reaffirms its commitment to the protection of culture and the diversity of cultural expressions as drivers of sustainable development and as crucial components of social inclusion and of efforts to eradicate poverty and reduce inequalities. Cultural and creative industries have begun to find new forms of expression, output, and dissemination of culture thanks to digital tools. Digital distribution platforms are contributing to economic diversification. They're also serving to build bridges between peoples and their cultures. However, at the same time, these platforms have shed new light on the divides that continue to exist, divides which threaten to reproduce inequalities in access to cultural knowledge creation and participation. In the face of this reality, we appeal for the following: bolstered international cooperation which prioritizes the technological sovereignty of countries of the South, equitable access to digital platforms, and the protection of cultural rights in the digital arena. 2. The protection of cultural identities in the face of homogenization imposed by major media conglomerates. These conglomerates often reproduce bias and exclusionary perspectives. 3. The use of ITCs as an educational tool, a tool with which we can disseminate art, history, culture, and the languages of our peoples as a means to strengthen mutual recognition and respect. 4. We appeal for the rejection of technologies for the purposes of cultural and ideological manipulation. These strategies seek to undermine the self-determination of peoples. Cuba has developed a national strategy for the digitization of our society. This strategy seeks to promote culture and foster digital arenas which provide room for creativity and diversity. We have done this in spite of the grave limitations imposed upon us by the blockade imposed by the US government. As things stand in an era where coercion prevails along with attempts to repress our cultural identities, we are choosing to champion digital transformation, whereby every culture finds its place and voice, a culture where the global does not disavow the local, where technology serves human beings and does not dehumanize them. I thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Cuba, and I now hand the floor to the distinguished representative of Morocco.
Thank you, Mr. President, Excellencies, distinguished delegates. At the outset, allow me to commend the OPGA for convening this timely, high-level, interactive dialogue on culture and sustainable development. Highlighting the nexus between culture and the digital sphere deserves the merit to pave the way for innovative approaches to advance our common agenda. As we approach the final stretch of the 2030 agenda, it is imperative to recognize the key contribution of culture and digital economy in achieving sustainable development, socially, economically, and culturally. The adoption of the Pact of the Future in September 2024 reaffirmed this by explicitly recognizing culture as a key action, calling for its integration into economic, social, and environmental policies. It is imperative, then, to advance the necessary policies and foster international cooperation to capitalize on culture for inclusive development through the preservation of cultural heritage and diversity and development of innovative technology-driven solutions tailored to local needs. According to UNESCO Global Report on Culture, cultural and creative industries contribute to 3.1% of global GDP and generate over 48 million jobs, 45% of which are held by women and 20% by youth. Recognizing this potential, Morocco has placed the creative economy as one of the important priorities in its national development strategy. Under its new development model, my country aims to double the sector's contribution to GDP and triple creative employment by 2035. This ambitious commitment is reflected in concrete initiatives, including, first, large-scale cultural projects such as internationally renowned festivals, Marrakesh International Film Festival, and Fez Festival of Sacred Music, which drive local economic development. Second, the designation of Rabat as African Capital of Culture for the period 2022-2023 reinforces its cultural role in fostering shared prosperity and integration. Third, the integration of 4 Moroccan cities into UNESCO's Creative Cities Network, a record in the Arab world and highlighting Morocco's commitment to urban sustainability through culture. These examples, few but not all, demonstrate how investing in culture goes beyond its traditional aims, but contributes into making the creative economy a pillar of sustainable development. Moving forward, fostering multi-stakeholder partnerships with the inclusion of the UN system, the private sector, academia, and the civil society actors will be primordial to further unlocking this potential in line with SDG 17. Finally, Morocco stands ready to support all efforts contributing to advancing culture, creativity, and innovation for sustainable development. I thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the distinguished representative of Morocco, and I now give the floor to the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor to speak on behalf of the group of Francophone ambassadors, which brings together the member states of the International Organization of the Francophonie. The theme of this dialogue, Connecting Cultures in the Digital Era, chimes directly with the constant appeal of our group, which has been working tirelessly to embed cultural and linguistic diversity in multilateral action. We promoted this message during negotiations on the Global Digital Compact, which now enshrines cultural and linguistic diversity among the principles that should guide not only the governance of the digital universe, but also the entire life cycle of artificial intelligence. This global framework constitutes a practical guide for making the digital environment a place for intercultural dialogue, for promoting and enriching the diversity of creative expressions. Mr. President, with the digital transformation, the growth of the cultural and creative sector has accelerated, generating vast revenues which are unfortunately unevenly distributed. The rapid rise of digital dissemination and distribution platforms has greatly increased the flow the global flows of cultural goods and services. However, in recent years, this has worsened a worrying imbalance, which is that there is growing diversity among the supply that contrasts with clear homogenization in the content that is actually being consumed at the global level. The concentration of platforms and the standardization of the culture that's on offer is something that encourages the visibility and profitability of content that comes from the most technologically advanced countries to the detriment of the cultural output of those countries with lesser digital infrastructure and capacities. And creators coming from countries of the South, but including Francophone ones, face difficulties in accessing a global audience and being paid for their work in a fractured ecosystem, a fractured digital ecosystem, and algorithms that don't necessarily promote cultural diversity. This dialogue is an opportunity for us to reaffirm our commitment to an inclusive digital environment in which there is space for every culture and where the wealth of cultural expressions is fully accessible, viable, and discoverable by everyone everywhere. At the 19th Summit of the Francophonie, the heads of state and government of the countries that share French recognized the urgent need to act in the digital environment and to implement solutions for the accessibility, linguistic diversity, and discoverability of French cultural content. Following their appeal to continue consultations and high-level advocacy on this subject, the ministers of culture of the member countries of the Francophonie will meet tomorrow in Quebec to consider solutions to strengthen the visibility, diversity, and vitality of cultural expressions in French in the digital age. This Francophone meeting will be a key opportunity for us together to consider the global cultural issues in the Francophone world so as to pave the way towards cultural policies that are adapted to the digital world and to appeal together for the discoverability of Francophone content. And we will, of course, be delighted to inform you of the main conclusions of that conference. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of the Democratic Republic of Congo. And I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Cameroon.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Mr. President. The human beings are value, and they are a source of value. And they are indeed a series of aspirations and needs. Physical needs, moral needs, and spiritual needs. All development, then, is something that aims to come up with solutions to meet those needs. If not, that development won't be sustainable. And since human beings are located in time and in space, it goes without saying that human beings aren't something to be categorized, but rather they are something that are an expression of the cultural diversity and wealth of the world. And in the digital age, we must make sure that that diversity is fully expressed. Otherwise, that development won't be sustainable, and it isn't going to last in the long term. If diversity is achieved, then rather if diversity is extinguished, that the development that they hope to achieve will not be successful. And we would be faced with a situation where we'd be trying to apply the same solution to every single problem. Thank you.
Distinguished representative of Cameroon, also for its brevity. And I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Nigeria.
Mr. President, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, esteemed colleagues, I have the honor to deliver this statement on behalf of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It is a privilege to participate in this dialogue on connecting cultures in the digital era. Nigeria is a mosaic of over 250 ethnic groups and 500 languages. Our diversity is not merely our strength, it is the wellspring of our creativity and innovation. From the vibrant markets of Lagos to the historic walls of Kano, our cultural heritage is as dynamic as it is diverse. Today, I wish to present how Nigeria is harnessing culture and technology to drive sustainable development and address our most pressing challenges. Firstly, regarding employment, our creative sector, including Nollywood, one of the world's most prolific film industries, is a significant contributor to our economy. However, we aspire to greater heights. Through our Creative Leap Acceleration Program, we're providing training, funding, and digital tools to enable artists, filmmakers, and innovators to transform their talents into thriving enterprises. Recently, a group of young animators from Enugu secured international funding for a series that integrates folklore from the Igbo people, one of Nigeria's largest ethnic groups, with cutting-edge graphics. This project exemplifies our use of digital tools to preserve and promote our diverse cultural heritage while creating innovative content for global audiences. Our objective is to substantially increase the creative economic's contribution to $100 billion to our GDP by 2030, generating millions of jobs for Nigerians, particularly our youth. To support this growth, we have established a Creative Economic Development Fund, which provides grants and loans to entrepreneurs in music, film, fashion, and digital arts. We are also developing the D30 platform, an open source data system mapping our cultural assets, festival, and heritage sites across all 774 local governments of the Federation. This initiative aims to foster connections between communities and create economic opportunities throughout Nigeria. This is not merely about preserving heritage, it is about making strategic investment in our creative future. Digitalization is opening new avenues. Our youth are utilizing social media to share indigenous languages and traditions globally. Virtual reality technologies enabling people to virtually experience sacred sites in Nigeria from anywhere in the world. Artificial intelligence is contributing to the preservation of endangered languages. However, we must ensure this digital transformation is inclusive. Nearly half of Nigerians still lack internet access. Consequently, we are investing significantly in broadband infrastructure and digital literacy with the aim of achieving 70% penetration by next year. We are also addressing challenges such as protecting intellectual property in the digital age and combating misinformation that can distort cultural narratives. Our new data protection and copyright laws aim to create a more secure and equitable digital space for creators and consumers alike. Colleagues, culture is not a luxury, it is a cornerstone of sustainable development. It generates employment, promotes social cohesion, and offers innovative solutions to global challenges. We urge all nations to place culture at the heart of their development strategies. Let us collaborate to ensure that in our increasingly interconnected world, every culture has the opportunity to thrive and contribute to our shared human narrative. I thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Nigeria and now hand the floor to the distinguished representative of Albania.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, the digital era presents incredible opportunities to preserve, promote, and share our cultural identities. On the other hand, it challenges us to ensure inclusivity, accessibility, and authenticity in how culture is presented and experienced across digital platforms. Culture, as we all know, is not just about heritage, it is about identity, belonging, resilience, and aspiration. It shapes our values, informs our decisions, and sustains our communities. It is both a driver and an enabler of sustainable development, particularly in fostering inclusive, peaceful societies as envisioned in the 2030 Agenda. This connection between culture and sustainability has never been more relevant. Today, Albania is leveraging technology to bring its cultural heritage into the 21st century. Let me briefly highlight 4 keys where Albania is actively contributing and where we see potential for broader collaboration. Digital preservation and accessibility. We are investing in the digitalization of historical manuscripts, cultural artifacts, and archival materials. These efforts aim to safeguard our heritage while also democratizing access, particularly for young people and diaspora communities who seek to reconnect with their roots. 2, creative industries and youth management. Albania is nurturing a new generation of creators who merge traditional culture with modern media. We are supporting digital arts, culture startups, and tech-driven projects that not only promote culture but also create jobs and opportunities for the youth. These efforts are helping turn cultural heritage into a source of innovation and sustainable growth. 3. Regional leadership and global partnerships. We see culture as a tool for diplomacy and regional solidarity. Albania is ready to lead initiatives in the Western Balkans to develop shared digital platforms that celebrate our common and diverse cultural heritage. We also welcome partnerships with international institutions to promote culture tourism and cross-border digital exchange. And lastly, education and digital cultural literacy. Finally, we are committed to integrating cultural education into digital learning. Through apps, interactive content, podcasts, and school curricula, we are fostering cultural literacy from an early age, empowering young Albanians to become ambassadors of our heritage in the digital world. Colleagues, as we connect cultures in the digital era, we must do so with purpose, with ethics, and with inclusivity. Technology is only as powerful as the values we embed with it. Albania believes that digital tools can and must be used to build bridges, not walls, to protect identities, not erase them, and to inspire dialogue, not division. In this spirit, we stand ready to share its experiences, learn from others, and contribute to a global cultural ecosystem that is more connected, more resilient, and more respectful of our shared humanity. Thank you.
Faleminderit. Thank you very much. Thank you to the delegate of Albania, and I'll give the floor to the distinguished delegate of Guatemala.
Señor Presidente. Mr. President, in an increasingly interconnected world, digital technology offers unprecedented opportunities to strengthen ties between cultures, to preserve intangible heritage, and to build more inclusive and resilient societies. This meeting allows us to recognize the key role played by culture as a driver of sustainable development. It also allows us to underscore how the digital age can be a powerful ally as we build a more just, diverse, and equitable future. Guatemala is grateful for and values this forum. It allows us to tackle the role digital technologies play in transforming the ways in which we interact and connect through culture and its preservation for future generations. Digitization is a driver for economic and social development. It can foster an active culture of civic participation through the implementation of digital platforms. Adjusting to an ever-changing digital environment means that we must link up technological progress with creativity and continued learning. My country is multicultural, multi-ethnic, and multilingual. As such, it is of major importance that we continue to revitalize and expand the teaching of Maya languages. As such, the use of science and technology to preserve Mayan languages opens new opportunities for all. It allows new generations to connect with their roots, bolster their sense of identity, and continue to transmit their essential knowledge to others for sustainability and to ensure peaceful coexistence with nature. Through Guatemala's Academy of Mayan Languages, we've developed the Kumatzich method for the teaching and learning of Mayan languages. This is a system of linguistic interaction, reproduction, linkage, and consolidation, and it is shaping our teaching learning process. This online platform is a key tool with which to document and revitalize Mayan languages and to bring them closer to new generations. With this initiative, we're seeking to reduce the digital divide by promoting digital literacy, by championing creativity, and the use of technology to contribute to the preservation and promotion of Mayan languages as an integral part of our cultural identity. Moreover, digital technologies play a crucial role in preserving cultural heritage. With the support of international partners, Guatemala has gone ahead with the digitization of our register of cultural goods. This is a process with which we can preserve historic memory, prevent the illicit trafficking of valuable artifacts, and promote educational and awareness-raising projects. My country prioritizes work with and for children, women, young people, and indigenous peoples, strengthening and promoting civic participation. We're doing this to ensure that the digital transformation truly benefits all. Guatemala firmly believes that digital transformation must not be solely an issue of technological access. Rather, it should be a tool for cultural empowerment, social inclusion, and the strengthening of our identities. In Guatemala, we champion a digital era which will celebrate diversity, promote intercultural dialogue, and promote the living memories of our peoples. Let us continue to connect cultures not only with data and screens, but also with respect, solidarity, and a shared vision. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Guatemala and now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Indonesia.
Mr. President, allow us to convey our appreciation for convening this dialogue on important topic. Indeed, our future unfolds in digital space. Yet, our identity rooted in culture and shaped across generations anchors us in who we are. Digital transformations must strengthen, not dilute, our cultural values and go hand in hand with sustainable development. On this note, we wish to highlight 3 points. First, digital tools must serve to preserve and promote cultural heritage. In Indonesia, platforms such as Borobudur Virtual Museum and digital archives of cultural heritage are expanding access to local traditions. But for many cultural bearers in remote areas, digital exclusion remains a barrier. We must close this gap by improving infrastructure, access to finance, and capacity building. Second, youth engagement is vital to cultural resilience. Across Indonesia, young people are embracing cultural heritage through art on social media and mobile apps to learn traditional languages. These innovations are not a break from tradition, they are how traditions lives on. Therefore, creating an enabling environment is key. From promoting policies that support youth-led initiatives in digital spaces, supporting creative workers to strengthening intellectual property rights regulations. Third, digital transformations must be inclusive and human-centered. Initiatives such as smart cities and the digital literacy movement are empowering communities, advancing human capital development, and enhancing productivity. Without digital literacy and safeguards, technology may divide more than it connects. We believe the Global Digital Compact has provided a pathway for us for an inclusive, safe, and security digital future. Mr. President, culture holds immense potential to achieve the progress of the SDGs. It is even more evident through the leverage we have experienced from digital technology and the creative economy. As part of this vision, Indonesia initiated the GA resolution on promoting creative economy for sustainable development in 2023. Last year, in partnership with UNDESA, we also launched a workshop on social inclusion in creative economy. And in 2025, we expand by involving countries from Southeast Asia and the Pacific. In closing, Mr. President, let us ensure that digital progress builds bridges between people, strengthens local wisdom, and fosters solidarity in our global society. I thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Indonesia and now give the floor to the distinguished representative of the International Organization of la Francophonie. The floor is yours.
Monsieur le Président,
Mr. President, the International Organization of the Francophonie has made cultural cooperation the heart of its action since it was created. The Francophonie's contribution was key to the Convention on the Protection and Promotion of the Diversity of Cultural Expressions. That legal instrument represents a historic commitment of great relevance in the digital age, at a time in which digital progress, artificial intelligence, and algorithms are redefining cultural boundaries, whilst also opening up never-before-seen prospects for art and culture creators. Today, creators have powerful digital tools that can carry their work across borders, never has the dissemination of cultural expressions been so fluid, instantaneous, and global in nature. However, this vast technological potential brings with it major challenges: the concentration of platforms, algorithms, and cultural hegemony, which are all redefining the conditions for the visibility of cultural content. There is then a central question that must be answered, and that is, how can we make sure that the diversity of cultural expressions does not drown in the immensity of the digital space, but rather is highlighted, made accessible, and valued for the entire audience, for everybody. Over the course of considerations conducted alongside the member states and governments, a Francophone consensus has emerged around the notion, of the discoverability of cultural content online. This is a notion that provides a conceptual framework for thinking about the cultural dynamics in the digital environment and the AI ecosystem, whilst also proposing guidelines for action to support the creation and dissemination of culture in the digital age. The stakes are high, particularly when it comes to works of culture from the countries of the South that are all too often made invisible in the digital landscape due to having a marginal presence on major platforms. And yet, those works carry forth unique voices and stories rooted in local realities that enrich the global collective imagination and create cultural bridges between peoples. Through academic partnerships, awareness raising, and training tools, as well as dialogues bringing together creators, institutions, and platforms, the Francophonie has committed to trying to support the visibility, accessibility, and diversity of cultural expressions in the digital space. That commitment has also taken the form of political high-level positions in favor of a plural, inclusive digital space that respects the voices of the South. Mr. President, the IOF has begun work on developing a rating system for evaluating the commitments and efforts of platforms, one that aims to encourage the discoverability of cultural content in their catalogues. This measuring tool aims to promote the better inclusion of cultural and linguistic diversity among the criteria for selecting, classifying, promoting, and recommending Francophone content that is available on digital distribution platforms. As we celebrate the 20th anniversary of the Convention on the Protection and Promotion of the Diversity of Cultural Expressions this year, the Francophonie intends to deepen its cultural action to promote the discoverability of Francophone works. The 5th Conference of the Ministers of Culture of the Francophonie, which will take place from the 22nd to the 24th of May 2025 in Quebec, aims to develop common advocacy and a concerted approach to discoverability for Francophone cultural content, and also to discuss experiences and good practices in the area of cultural policy in the digital age. The Secretary-General of the Francophonie, Ms. Louise Mushikibabo, has made advocacy and Francophone cooperation a priority. Mr. President, strengthening the discoverability of creators, particularly those from the South, will allow them to make a living from their art, to fully contribute to the global cultural dialogue, and to contribute to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. I'd like to conclude by underscoring that technology is reshaping the way that we discover culture, but it's up to us to reshape the technology in the image of the diversity that we constitute. And the principles and commitments and engagements in the Global Digital Compact pave the way to making this aspiration a reality. The IOF will remain at your disposal to continue this discussion. Thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the distinguished representative of the International Organization of La Francophonie. We have heard the last speaker for the plenary segment this morning, and I would like to express my appreciation to all participants for their contributions today. Before concluding, I would like to remind participants that the panel discussion will begin promptly at 3 p.m. in this chamber. The plenary segment is now concluded. The meeting is adjourned.